Today we have clear skies and a high of 79 degrees, and it feels way too hot to be outside, but there's a lot to do in the garden today. First, I'm going to start off by fixing the trellises. The one that you see behind me is one of them. The only thing I'm doing is actually making them a bit taller. This is what the trellises look like. They're really pretty. I really like the shape. Here you go, Mamash. I really like the shape of them. Hold on. My baby's gonna be upset with me if I don't put on my hat because I made them wear hats outside right now because it feels way too hot. Okay. There you go. Is that better? Okay. The only thing I want to fix is just raising them up a little bit. I actually made them shorter than I wanted to only because when I had the shade cloth, it kept hitting the top and the vines didn't have enough airflow. You're okay, baby? Be careful. You guys are crazy. It didn't have enough airflow and I felt it was easier just to make these shorter rather than raise the shade cloth up. I don't know why, but I already did one this morning, which is this one right here. And look at the height difference between those two. It's a good foot taller, I would say. And honestly, I want the height a bit more because I'm not planning on adding shade cloth this year. We'll see how long that lasts. And I want as much vertical space as possible. That's what I'm going to start off with today. But before I do that, I want to show you a few things around the garden. The tomato transplants are looking pretty great so far. There's some that I already want to trim back a bit. I'm going to give them a few more days though. Like this one, for example, I feel like these leaves are a little too low, so ideally I would take those off. These over here don't seem to mind the sun at all. They're doing amazing. This is one of the ones that I recently transplanted, and I think it really likes the fact that it's getting shaded a bit, so it's getting some filtered sun, but it also got full morning sun, and I think it's going to be one of the ones that takes off the fastest. And it happens to be Barry's Crazy Cherry. Peppers are starting to leaf out again, which is nice. And my fairy tale eggplant is gonna start producing soon because I see a lot of blooms starting to form, which honestly makes me very happy because I planted a few of the seeds, but none of them germinated. So I don't have any backup fairy tale eggplants, and it's one of my favorite varieties. This one's actually really perfect for container gardening, and I might wind up moving it eventually, but this season it's gonna stay right here. Something that I really need to work on today is actually re-sowing some more peas in this pot. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't make it and they never even popped through, and I think that was my fault. Well, I know it was my fault because I watered it in the first day and then I totally forgot about it. That one is a little fighter because that one still popped through, but the rest of them never did. And the other day I went digging in there and it looked like they were starting to sprout, but then nothing ever happened. And as you guys know, once you plant a seed and you water it in, you want to make sure that the soil doesn't dry out because of that seed is toast. But because it was on the side of the house, I didn't even think about it. It totally slipped my mind. Also, I do want to point out, I've noticed that a lot of plants are doing a lot better over here because they're getting a little bit more protection from the sun. I have several tomatoes that are looking great. This one actually, I'm going to fill up with soil the rest of the way. I can either mix up some more soil or I can pick up a bag, but honestly, it's way more cost effective to just mix it myself. But I've got some eggplants and oh, look at that pepper. What is this? And this is, oh, actually this is one that I need to thin out. Where's the tag? Oh, here it is. This is my jalapeno. It's looking great right there. Oh, I guess, oh, this is one of the ones that I separated. Oh no, hang in there. Hang in there. I need to pick this up. This nasturtium, by the way, is looking immensely beautiful. I think it's gonna really help that it's planted right next to a tomato. This broccoli plant will go away soon and that tomato can take off. It's a tomato tomato. It's an indeterminate. When spring hits, all the bugs come out to play. So when it comes to gardening, you want to play chess, not checkers. Nasturtiums are a good way to do that because you're able to lure a lot of the bad insects, or at least all of the annoying insects, over to the nasturtium so that they leave your other plants alone. And they look really pretty. They remind me of frogs for some reason. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So we have another beautiful nasturtium over here. And then we have, I mean, there's like one bug on there. Ugh. And hidden next to it, we have an artichoke. And there's not a whole lot of insect action going on there. This one actually looks really happy. Well, maybe a few, but not a whole lot. Here's another artichoke. This one gets a lot more sun, but it's sort of out in the open right now. There's nothing around it. Look at all those aphids right there. This leaf looks fine. Oh, there we go again. There we go. So again, play chess, not checkers with your plants. I'm gonna stop there before I get more distracted. I could show you guys the garden all day because there's just so much to look at, especially now that it's warming up. I feel like so much is starting to maybe die back a little bit, but the spring crops and summer crops are some of my favorite because melons, cucumbers, what else? Tomatoes, peppers. Oh, cannot wait.
One, Mommy?
Look, wait. Yes. Look, you guys. This is not Paco, but this is a little...
Is this one? Is this one, Mommy?
Yes, it's that one. Look, Papash. Come here. Stink. Look, Paco. Look, Paco. You see that? Okay, let's get to work. I'm taking off this rusted wire and then I'm going to raise this up and then we'll go from there. Really, all I'm doing is untwisting all of this rusted wire. Just like that.
Over here, Mommy.
Okay, love.
I could see you over here.
You could see me? You're not climbing on anything, right? Hey. Where's your hat?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It fell off my head.
It fell off your head? Are you sure about that? Are you sure you didn't take it off?
It's over there.
Okay, make sure you put it back on your head. It's gonna be a little time consuming to unravel all of it. I'm not gonna use this one. I'm actually going to use the one that I bought from the dollar store. This is the tie wire that I bought from the masonry section at Lowe's. Okay, and now that this is free, I'm gonna go ahead and raise it up. I'm trying my best not to disturb the soil too much. It's gonna be impossible not to disturb it at all, but the least amount possible until I'm able to set this on top right here. So maybe I'm not raising it a foot, but it looks like a foot when you compare it to the other one. I go like this. That way I can start weaving it through. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. Eventually I'm going to replace this with some of those T-posts. I think that's gonna be much longer lasting. I just haven't done it. Ooh, I just haven't done it yet because they're expensive. Or at least for the amount that I need 4 per trellis. So it's gonna have to wait most likely a few months, but I plan to do it at least by the end of this year. For now, the wood is still holding up though, so that's good. I am finally done and look at how much taller these look. I feel like I need a, hold on. Let me step back a little bit more. There you go. This is at the height that I'm at right now. And before, I could sort of reach even to hang the hummingbird feeders, and now I can't at all. The next thing I'm gonna do is clean up everything on the floor because I did make quite a mess. And because my kids are gonna be playing out here tomorrow, I wanna make sure that they don't hurt themselves with all of that rusted wire. But before I do that, I wanna show you something. Let's see how many tomatoes we can find on the floor. I always talk about how my baby is constantly grabbing tomatoes. There's another one right there. Look at this, you guys. Another one right there. She's constantly grabbing tomatoes, dropping them everywhere. And I get a lot of questions about why I have organza bags on these. And initially I put them there because of the birds. I thought the birds would be coming after them. So far, I haven't seen one single bird try and get to the tomatoes. It's always my baby. And it doesn't help that she has her little bench now to climb up and be able to reach them. It's fine though. She gets really excited every time she picks them and then quickly realizes that they're not ripe yet. Look at all these sugar snap peas. They look amazing. I also want to finish setting up the irrigation because I need to make sure that everything's getting watered, especially now that it's warming up so much. But let's pick one. So next I'm going to work on reattaching a lot of these peas because as you can see, I've definitely disturbed them. One thing I wish I'd done differently is wait until now to transplant my cucumbers, melons, watermelons, because I definitely disturbed the soil. Either way, I might still go through and re-sow in a few days. But let me show you one thing actually that really bummed me out right now. So I really love the look of these planters. I wanted to eventually switch out all of these wires for some bamboo stakes with the other type of wire just to make it more sturdy. But I wanted it to be full of cucamelons. I've had the worst luck when it comes to cucamelons though. I've gone through an entire seed packet and I couldn't get them to stay alive long enough to actually get anything out of them. I had maybe 2 or 3 vines that started growing last year and then they quickly fizzled out. So this year I started some in trays and they were doing pretty great. And then I transplanted them and only one appears to be alive now. The other one is gone. Let me go ahead and show you. So this one right here that you can barely see still seems to be alive, and I think honestly that I just let the soil dry out too much. And the reason for that is because I haven't turned on the irrigation in 3 days because I was waiting to fix the one on my trees, and so I feel like they just dried out far too much because they've been in full sun this whole time. So that's really the only thing I can think of. Plus look at this, and here's the other one. I don't know what this is though. I don't think this is a cucamelon. This was my cucamelon previously. As you can see right there, that little fried thing. But again, the soil right here is super dry. So I'm gonna go through and water everything. And I wanted to repot the roses, but instead I'm actually gonna go ahead and finish up the irrigation today. What I mean by that is fixing things like this pomegranate tree, for example. I have those 2 stakes on the side, but I don't use them anymore. I much prefer the ring going around the tree. So I need to finish setting that up. And then I have the same thing going on with all of these trees. You can see it on the side right there. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the irrigation. Ooh. You can see that. It appears this one. By the way, before I forget, let me go ahead and show you something that I've started doing, which is blanching this celery. And I'm using an old container. My celery was getting really wide and really thin. And then I saw a TikTok and I accidentally refreshed it before I could actually like it and save it, but I think the username had permaculture in it. But they mentioned blanching your celery to get those really nice thick stalks that you see at the store. I did read though that when you don't blanch it, it has a more profound flavor with a little bit of bitterness, but it's also more nutritious for you. Whereas when you blanch it, it's a bit sweeter, but the stalks look nicer and it tastes more like the one you find at the store. So I'm gonna test it out either way, and then I wanna make ceviche with it. Well, not ceviche, cóctel de camarón. Let's start off here. So all I'm gonna do is pull these back, and usually I would just intertwine them. But this time around, I'm just gonna loosely tie them with a piece of tie tape, and then they'll slowly find their way up. Just like that. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to cut off this strip line, and I'm going to replace it with this one that has emitters every 6 inches. Okay. This is pretty long, I know, but that's actually, that's actually what I want. And what I'm gonna do is take a little barbed connector like this one, attach it to one end over here, and then attach that to this opening over here where the water will come from. You want to make sure that it's nice and snug. The rest of this line I'm going to start using to loop around. So I'm going to start placing it and using some landscape pins to keep it where I want it. So for example, I want it to start right there. I want it to go around the perimeter of the pot and just keep on winding it. Everything I use in my garden I have linked down below, and I really like these landscape staples. And then at the very end, if I don't seal it up, the water will just continue coming out this opening right here. So what I do is I take a goof plug and I close it up. Just like that. Next up is my Florida Prince Peach. These were the little stakes that I was using before, and these work really well too, but I think they were a bit more expensive. And the metal ones work just as well, and I get a lot more per pack. Alright guys, I need to hurry up before the sun goes down, but everything's set up now. All I have to do is just turn on the irrigation. I still have a few more pots that I want to set up the irrigation on, like my raspberry pot. I have the Cavendish banana and the roses, but that's going to have to wait until tomorrow. Did you see them? They're leafing out. Look how pretty. Don't they look nice? And I just watered them recently by hand.
They need to grow raspberries.
Yeah, they need to grow raspberries, but you don't pull it, okay?
Okay. Ooh,
You're so cute. You're so cute. Wait, let me just turn it on. These are the different zones. This one is for the garden. You can barely see it, but that's how I can tell. And then the bottom one is for all of the trees where the turf area is at. I have both of them open right now. So all of this is getting a nice, you can even hear how clogged they were because they seriously have not been turned on for a while. And then let's take a look at this pomegranate. And you can see the water coming out right there. Perfect. And that should be the same for everything else in the garden. Aside from the garden beds, which Oh, are you Harry Potter? Harry Potter. Oh, aside from the garden beds, which I water by hooking up the hose to this portion right here of the PVC pipe and then watering them that way. The only reason I have them set up this way and I haven't installed drip is because I don't know how I'll feel about the black wires running everywhere throughout the pavers. We could remove the pavers, place it underneath, and then set everything back, but I feel like that'll be so much work. And if I ever need to replace anything, I just don't know how I'll feel about it. When we first set up the garden, my husband asked me a gazillion times, do you want me to set up irrigation in your garden? And I always told him no, because it's going to be really small, it's going to be manageable, and I didn't realize that it would get so hot, and now I regret it. Maybe one day we'll set up drip, but I don't know if that'll be anytime soon. Right now it's still manageable. The PVC setup works great. All I have to do is hook it up and set my timer. And oftentimes I'll just sit on the bench with my kids, snack on veggies, or go inside and do a couple of things. And then as soon as my timer's off, I come out here and I check. The only time it's a downfall is when I get distracted. Like if I need to go change a diaper, or I need to go to the bathroom, or something happens where I don't realize that my timer went off. That's when I get into a little bit of trouble. It's only happened a few more times than I'd like to admit. That's when I feel like it's a little inconvenient, but for the most part it's manageable. So I think I'll keep it for a while longer until I really cannot stand watering, but it does save on time. So that's basically it. The sun is going down, so it's time for me to go inside and make dinner. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.